out to all my friends. I'm like, please, this one.
Hi, everybody. This is Lark Lowe. That's me. And this is Judi Desire. And this is Black Kids in Outer Space. And I'm so excited today because we have Judi from the Bronx. Originally from Brooklyn, though, but she's from the Bronx. And she is the proprietor of Uptown and Boogie Bicycle Advocacy, an organization based in Harlem that covers Harlem, Uptown Manhattan, and the Bronx. So How are you?
I'm fine, but I'm born and bred in the Park Slope, Brooklyn.
Park Slope, Brooklyn. All right. Yeah, I was telling people, I'm like, yeah, there's all these different, I'm like, when I first moved here from Los Angeles, I was like, there's all these different parts of New York. Like there's Uptown and there's downtown. And now, in LA, our downtown, we just have downtown. There is no uptown. So we thought downtown just meant like Main Street or something. So I didn't understand the whole concept. When I came here, I'm like, oh, I get it now. But I read something very interesting about you because me being from California where we like surfed and rode bikes from birth, I noticed a lot of people on the East Coast, they don't know how to ride bikes. And you just learned how to ride a bike in 2010, which is not so recent now, but 2010 is like you were an adult at the time.
Yes.
Why did you decide to ride a bike?
It actually happened by accident.
Mm-hmm.
So I was stressed out from work. I'm a freelancer. I was taking on too many projects and just got burned out. And I told one of my coworkers, I'm going to Europe and I'm just going to, vegetate for 3 months and just experience something different and just de-stress, like disconnect. And so I said, where you want to go? I said, I'm going to Europe. And she goes, oh, that's great. You can bike in Amsterdam and in Germany. You can swim in the Mediterranean. And I'm like, I was like, swim where? Bike what? I just thought Europe was just a big New York City. You just take the train, you walk around. Like I was just like, who's biking? So I think maybe like 3 months before the trip, I did the guilt on two friends. And I said, I was there for you from the very beginning of your life and your experience. Now teach me how to ride a bike.
Yeah.
So it was my friend and they taught me how to ride a bike. And it was what I know now the wrong way. So holding the back of the saddle. So I was a big grown woman, have other grown people holding the back of the saddle. Down in it was in the east side, the river. Going in Manhattan, the East Side River. So I was learning there. And I was getting the bike, wobbled behind me. And I also learned in Brooklyn Bridge Park. I was trying to figure that out. I fell several times. I still have bruises from then. So, and then I was just like, okay, I think I can go forward and pedal, maybe brake. And it didn't officially become more of a cycling thing until I actually reached Europe. And I used social media to connect and get hosts to stay with. So it was a cultural exchange. And I found that every host I had or who took me had a bike. And not one, but two or sometimes three. And they all had access to all different types of bikes. And so all my hosts taught me to ride. And we would go to the park. Or maybe they say, let's ride to my friend's house. And so, I picked it up in Europe. And I was like, this is the best. I went hopping around, staying with people and biked everywhere. Wasn't concerned about the walking and language barriers because I just knew there was a map and I could just bike to it. So, and then I got back to New York and I was like, goodbye car, goodbye MetroCard. Sold my car and with that money purchased my first bicycle.
So it's like you had a car. Yes. And you sold your car in order to like start this path. So in a way, like for me, when I kind of like know you in regards to your bicycle, in regards to your advocacy with Uptown Boogie Bicycle Advocacy.
Yes.
Your organization seems very kind of new agey, and that's not like for me. That's not an insulting thing to say because I'm from California. I'm like, this kind of reminds me of something they would do in California. You guys have yoga, and you guys do like. I mean, is it? Am I imagining things? Is it kind of like your bike tour, your bike organization is kind of like it's connecting, the spiritual and the physical?
Yeah, because I found that biking was a gateway to other activities.
Mm-hmm.
So I would, when I was learning to ride, I biked to the grocery store and picked up some things. I biked to the museum. And there was, bike parking when I was touring, just traveling to different countries and going to find its attraction. I went by bike.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it just, I actually did yoga while I was, traveling, and I went to the yoga class that was in the park by bike. So
Yeah.
I did everything that way. So I felt like, it was just a gateway just to get to other things. And I yoga helped me a lot in many of more of recovery. Like I had a lot of old injuries. So it helped me that way. It wasn't really more of a spiritual, but more of a physical, like, just getting back in shape and understanding what the postures would do to help with some muscle issues or aches and pains I had. And I thought, when I started biking and learning to bike, I didn't stretch. And
Mm-hmm.
by the time the end of my ride, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's true. I mean, that's something you don't really think about because a lot of times people they get on bikes, they get on their bike, and they haven't ridden them well. They maybe they see a movie or they kind of get inspired, like I'm gonna get on my bike, and then they like start riding it, and they're like, you know what, I'm never gonna do that again because I'm in pain now.
Yeah.
So in order for that, if you stretch and you do these kind of things, then that's less likely to happen.
Yeah.
Is that kind of like why? Because does that happen to you where you're like, oh my God, I'm in so much pain now?
Well, they usually say the first 5 or 10 minutes is just your body warming up, and then you
Mm-hmm.
go. And so we want to eliminate that part where you're in the bike warming up. So we have a half an hour of just warming up the body, getting the breathing, getting it mental, get yourself ready to get on the bike. Knowing your intentions, like, okay, I'm in this. This is happening. So by the time you get on the bike and start approaching the bike, you're more relaxed, your muscles, so you're not having to warm up. You just have to actually just mentally get ready.
Mm-hmm.
So you eliminate the part of the physical and you're now working on the mental. And so with the sun warming up the body in your face, you have that relaxation. I had some people who would bite their nails and like, oh my God, I'm gonna so, and I work with a yoga instructor, a certified yoga instructor, and she's amazing. She does Reiki. She's really into the spiritual aspect. So we both balance, because I'm more about the physical, she's more about the spiritual. And
Mm-hmm.
so with that combination, having both of the experience of yoga instead of just one side of yoga, you're just working on the mental, and I work on the class with everybody, and then I'm like, all right, chop chop, let's get onto the bike.
Well, no, I view like to me, I view bicycling as a kind of an alternative kind of path.
Yeah.
I my master's is in human development, and I worked with kind of, and so one of my papers was on this concept of the green tricycle, and and it's kind of like this Buddhist kind of mindful idea of, what will we need to have peace in the world? And I was like, if a child could ride a tricycle up the road. I know this sounds really Californian. I should probably just stop it right now. But I mean, yes, I can kind of I can see how you could that's kind of what drew me to you when I saw the whole yoga in combination with the bicycling, and then kind of like this alternative path, the middle path, and how it could kind of all kind of connect in that way. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I mean, I kind of view it could be that way.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, there's something that's weird about you. You are a computer person. You're like a tech person, but yet you're like a bicycle person. So how, I mean, do these things connect other than your awesome website? Does this, your tech life and your bike life, does it connect? And and then I'll ask you, why did you start Uptown Boogie? I'll ask you that. But why does your bike and your tech life combine
I've
together?
always been the odd techie. I was the techie but non-techie. So I was very sociable. I wasn't, put me in the dungeon and cold and never leave me to be. So I was more, hey, let's talk about the website. Yeah, so I was very outgoing anyway. So I was really never that techie. But
Yeah.
it what I did notice with biking was there was a technical gap. You had those who use a technology, like to track their speed, and they use a technology that way. But there was no technology to connect those people. There was no. I didn't when I was traveling to different countries or touring, I would have to scour the Google to find what bike organizations were out there. Where are they? What kind of group? Is there a social ride? Is there the Need for Speed ride? And so I felt like there was technology being used in biking, but the technology to actually connect people together, I felt was a bit disconnect. So I got into the biking because I was just like, I always wanted to be outdoors. I love programming, but there's a point. They always tell you whenever you're stuck on a program or a problem, just walk away. Go to sleep, walk away. And so I found, like, today I was working on my website, and I said, I'm going to go for a ride. Like, I can't get something. I'll go for a ride, walk away from it. I come back, I'm like, and type of way. So it does connect to me with in the technology world. But I also wanted to create a way that people could see other people biking. There was a connection to it. You could see other events out there. The technology didn't have to always be limited to the equipment on your handlebar. It could be, or it didn't have to be technology where it's like, oh, that one went up the mountain faster than me, so I'm going to go up the, So it's more about, the social aspect, meeting other people. And so I know that creating my website was, easier for me because I programmed it, directly. So I knew exactly what I wanted and how to send the message out. And so.
So that's why you start Uptown Boogie. You start that because you want to connect people.
Yes. Yeah.
And you feel like bicycling connects people together because it connects cities and it connects boroughs. It connects.
Yes.
I mean, I wouldn't know you if it wasn't for bicycling.
But also when I did go to other countries or even just other cities, like when I went to Austin, their monthly ride was like 400 deep. And people would say, I come to this ride and I found my friend, I found my apartment, I found my partner. People were like, I found a job through just, that 400 network. And I thought, why don't we have that here?
Yeah.
Like, why is, you could go to an event and just start meeting people. And we have it in other major cities and in other countries. That's the way everybody just communicates. If you don't have a bike, you feel like an outsider. Everyone's like, "Ooh, you drive?" So.
But you started driving actually quite late. Well, yes. You know what? I have to say this. I'm saying that because I'm always talking from the LA perspective. When we turn 16, we get like a license in a car. Yeah. But you grew up in a two. I guess you at one point you're living in a two fare zone. Can you explain that a little bit? Because we have people who are listening who are not, who don't live in Queens or don't live in Brooklyn or who only live in Manhattan and they don't understand it, or they live in LA.
So the two fare zone. It was people like me who had to take the train and then the bus, and so the company was private. So the bus company was a private company. You had a green line, a blue line. You had different company names that would provide the bus service. So my train was the E train, the last stop in Jamaica Avenue. I lived all the way near JFK Airport.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So there was a bus commute at least 15 to 20 minutes to ride, after the train to get now on the bus to go home. And you would pay the fare on the train. And then you paid the fare for the bus, and there was no transfer in between them. So I was just like, this is too much money. And at the time, gasoline cost cheaper than the two fare zone, like the $2 on the train and then $1 on the bus. And what I liked about the bus, you can use dollar bills. So you were able just to use currency, cash right into the bus. You didn't have a card to swipe. And I realized with the two fares combined was 1 week's worth of gasoline. So I said, why am I not driving?
Yeah. So actually, because of the two fare zone, they actually kind of trained a generation of people in the outer boroughs.
Yes.
to drive because it was cheaper to drive than to take two.
And the time, the buses never synced with the train. So the train will come out and you would wait for a bus for like 30 minutes. And you're just like, could they not like make this a little closer in time so you weren't waiting so long? So, what would be a quick time that we have now of maybe an hour and a half or so, it could be a 2.5 hour journey because you're waiting for one train and you're waiting for one bus. So people were leaving their homes way earlier than they should because there was just never a scheduled connection.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And not only that, because the companies were privatized, there were some people who needed two buses, mm-hmm. but the buses themselves didn't have like a transfer. So you paid $1 for one and $1 for other, and then you had the train. It was just like, why?
Well, I mean, I think that this is an important thing to know because I think that, we have some challenges regarding to getting like bicycle infrastructure in all locations. Mm-hmm. And we kind of have this idea that only certain people don't want to have complete streets or, and it's like in a way for a very long time, it was almost encouraged for people to get into their car.
Yes.
Because of the way that transportation, and which that's shocking to me in New York because of how, New York is like this place that you think of public transit. That's what you do. Yes. So I mean, you grow up and then you kind of go, you move, because you're from Brooklyn, so you move to Harlem, and then what happens at this point? You're just like you start riding a bike, and do you walk around? Do you realize like, hey, it's way different when you're on the island of Manhattan than when you're in Brooklyn? Is that something that you kind of came to the realization, or?
Oh, I felt like a tourist in my own city.
Yeah.
I used to, when I moved initially to Harlem before I rode a bike, I would walk from Soho all the way to Harlem. And it was like my friend and I would just, take the 2.5, and we just walked. Mm-hmm. Walked. And there was a way of, you were seeing things, but not really seeing things. Your level was here, and you just kind of knew, okay, we're taking 8th Avenue, we're getting on 8th Avenue, and you walked. And that was just the easier route. And with biking, I was like, I can take 2nd Avenue. I can take 9th Avenue. Or, now you had different routes. So now you weren't so focused on one route to get somewhere. I was just like, And then that's when I saw, okay, East Harlem's a little bit different from Harlem. And then, you get down to the Upper West Side, Upper East Side. And I was like, and I finally biked through Central Park. I lived in New York City my whole life. And Central Park was a sketchy place. So I never went in. And it was until I rode a bike, I was like, I'm going to wander around Central Park on my bike. And then I would cross Brooklyn Bridge, but I never crossed Williamsburg or Manhattan Bridge when I was going into Brooklyn. So now I said, there's a bike pedestrian path on Williamsburg, and then there's a bike path on Manhattan. Like, I was like, wow. So it did get me to see how different parts of the city were and how they changed. And, getting into Brooklyn now, I'm born and raised in Brooklyn. And I said, I never really explored Brooklyn Bridge Park, or I never really explored downtown Brooklyn. I just went to Junior's and then back home to get a cheesecake, and that was it. Now it was like truly, besides going to Macy's or A&S at the time, I was seeing more. So the walking was great. I always loved to walk, but I did feel like when I biked and I was zooming by things and seeing art, and I wasn't so fixed on one route. I was always changing my route. That it was different. I biked to Coney Island, from Harlem to Rockaway. I took my bike to the ferry to Fire Island, something I never thought I would ever visit. Fire Island, it was just like...
Yeah. Well, another thing, I was in your neighborhood about a weekend after the New Jersey Bike and Walk Summit. When Obayi Reed, we invited you, me and Dulce, we invited you.
Yeah.
We rode around the Bronx and Harlem. And actually, we rode around probably the places that you've gone. And we were with a crew called Bike Life. This could be wrong, but it's a hashtag Bike Life. It may not be the actual name of them. Yeah. I've been trying to get them on the show, but they're kind of hard to get in touch with. And I saw like lots of, young people riding their bicycles, but they weren't really interested in necessarily the bike lanes. Do you know about the bike culture I mean, clearly you do, but like, do you know, like, what can we do? I think, what can we do, or what do you do to support those young people riding in the Bronx and Harlem?
Well, I try with the biking is also to get people to know how to fix their bikes.
Yeah.
Because in the Bronx, the bike shops could either be clumped together or far apart.
Yeah.
So if you're on Orchard Beach and your bike gets a flat, how you know? So it's I was wanting to put more bike workshops so that people felt more independent to use their bike, because if something happened to you on the road, you didn't think, oh, I gotta get on the train now to get home because that's the only way. And if you're stuck in Orchard Beach, the only nearest thing it would be the bus, and you can't put your bike on the bus. So to help the biking culture in the Bronx is more about bringing more workshops, like getting people to be able to fix their own bikes, or when they do take it to the shop, understand what needs to be repaired, understand what's being told to you. Like if they say, your fifth gear skips when it gets into the front first gear, and you're just like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, so you understand, oh, okay, so I have a chain, so I need to change my chain, or I need to tighten my cable. So I feel like it's more about bicycle education to help the Bronx. Also, a lot of people believe, well, before the bike lanes, I still got around.
Yeah.
So some people think that the bike lanes are just going to, confuse the drivers, and you just survive. So it's just sort of like understanding that the bike lanes are here. How can you use it? That there is a buffer between you and the bike, and just understanding how it can help, especially in Grand Concourse. I use Grand Concourse all the time. It's just the way I get like if I have to get to the east or west side or north or south of the Bronx, Grand Concourse. And I feel like they've been done a lot of repairs to it, and it's just a stable, like, of course you have people double parking, but there is an idea that, oh, bikes are gonna come through this street, like, watch out.
But I mean, I think it's like, because you have such the Bronx has like a pretty heavy bike culture, and I don't think people necessarily think like, oh, they don't. I don't know if people actually think they think Brooklyn, and even like Manhattan. I think in some ways, but when I was at the Bronx, I was really I was happy. I was like, oh, all these kids. It's like there's lots of them, and they're like riding all over the place. It was just a lot of like, but it was really kind of bizarre, because I noticed that I felt safer sometimes in the street.
Yeah.
Because of the way that it's like the lanes were designed to like not inconvenience cars.
Yes.
So it's like, you know what? Like, if you're gonna make it like this, and I'm just gonna ride in the street. You know what I mean? It's like kind of ways like they're kind of like, oh, kind of like, you little boys, you shouldn't be. There's a lane, but the lane is actually, I feel safer in the middle of the street.
Yes.
And it's I think that's one thing that's really challenging. It's like infrastructure, good infrastructure, not just putting in some paint, but good infrastructure that makes it that you can ride on and you feel comfortable on.
Yeah.
So I think that your work is like, really important. And it's so, funny. This is actually gone by like super fast. It's like almost like 9:25 right now. I know it's like we've been talking that long, but I'm gonna tell you something. I heard you guys had Uptown Boogie Bicycle Advocacy had this great Wakanda type thing. Can you let me know? Like, apparently you had like this most awesome Black History thing where you had like a bike ride, and you guys got to go see Black Panther. You got to see Black Panther. I keep calling it Wakanda. You guys see Wakanda like, no, it's Black Panther. So, tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I understood that the Black Panther comic came before the movement, and I understand that. But I wanted to make sure there was the movement and then the movie. There was a separation. And not only that, I did see some sneak previews, like trailers of what was going to be addressed. And mainly was the strength of women. And so the bike tour focused on the women who led the movement in the Black Panther, especially Angela Davis.
Yeah.
And we have sculptures within Harlem. For example, Frederick Douglass. Angela Davis spoke about Frederick Douglass' push for the 13th Amendment and how it became the new form of slavery, and her critique on this. And so here she is, the Black Panther, and here we have Frederick Douglass, who used Harlem as a way to escape for freedom, and how they connected. And we also had a mural, which is Yuri and Malcolm X, with Yuri being a Japanese American who was born and raised in Harlem, how her involvement and being a woman helped in the civil rights movement. And the artist who did the mural, inspired to the mural, is also a female, Sophia. And so she was addressing how the signs of the civil rights movement back then and the signs now are just kind of a bit same, but a little bit of rebranding. So it's to understand what the struggles were with the Black Panther and how we maybe, how we are dealing with it still. Also, Black Panther, the chapter of New York was the largest on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So there is no landmark or the building in which the Black Panther's chapter was located. There's no plaque. Says that it was once here. Like when I first researched and went to the Schomburg to find the address, I rotated around. I'm like, I can't see where it is. And then I found that there is a movement to put a plaque that says we were here. And many people were aware of that. So it was about saying that. And then there was messages I saw in the preview. I was like, that's kind of sort of like the movement. And so how we can connect that. And what else did we, and then we didn't really, we went to so not only that, during the movement, during the Black Panther movement, we have lost a lot of landmarks in Harlem. We don't know what it looked like back then. There was nothing still standing. So the Harlem Hospital Art Pavilion had photo exhibit of the 1960s. So to get an idea of what the Black Panther chapter would have looked like and the neighborhood in which those people looked like too, and what it looked. So we did that, and then we went to the Schomburg to actually see the Black Power exhibit, which explored more about the Black Panther movement. And the illustrations that were very important, the posters that were very important, is also an exhibit of the Black Panther, like the illustration movement that the Black Panther created with their newspaper. That was the thriving source of it. And so the exhibit that had the Black prints of political statements were also a part of the exhibit. So I wanted to connect that with the Black Panther, how important the illustration was and how people saw themselves within the illustration. And so Schomburg had that exhibit. So I thought that was, a good connection in that way. And then we also saw it in Harlem, the movie. Supporting, Magic Johnson Theater. That was our theater in Harlem. That's where everybody went to. That was, Magic put together and brought more businesses into the community. And that was a whole Black Panther movement also, of just supporting the community. And so I felt that we should also support the theater that's here. And so we saw the movie at Magic Johnson Theater. And I also was able to convince the theater to allow us to have our bikes be parked inside the theater. And so they were really supportive of that. And we were able to do all this before the snow blizzard. So we were it was a beautiful day in the morning. And by the time 4 or 5 o'clock hit, the snow started coming and the ride was already over. We were already safe in the theater. So yeah, there was a lot of
that ride was famous. People talk to me about it. They're like, oh, and it was great, and you went, and it wasn't just it was like a big tour. I'm like, wow, that's like the most awesome ride ever. Yeah. So I mean, you got hopefully the sequel comes out, but I mean, we can still do a second one. I'll still definitely come to the second one. But is there anything else you have coming up? Because we're going to wrap it up. Anything you have coming up?
Also keeping with the Harlem history, we want to preserve swing dancing. And so we are putting a monthly ride. It's a paid ride where we work with the Harlem Swing Dance Society. And we have 5 miles of jazz history. Unfortunately, we just lost our recent landmark, which was the St. Nick Pub. that recently burned down about 2 weeks ago, took the life of a firefighter. And I bike on St. Nicholas, and it's just like that landmark is gone. So it's just sort of like we lost a lot of jazz and clubs, and a lot of the swing ballrooms. Harlem had the largest amount of swing ballrooms, close to 50 ballrooms. And so we take a history from the central Harlem, and we go to Washington Heights all the way to a Morris Jamel mansion. And then we also visit Jackie Robinson Park. So we go as far up there, and then we come back down and we dance outside. We have lesson, a 1 hour swing dance lesson in Marvis Garvey Park. And we chow down on some food, which is the Savoy social, that we all come together and talk about any questions maybe people have, and also feed people after such, active day. So that's a real monthly ride. And
what day?
That social ride where we have bike, art, and beer. So we find art in Uptown Manhattan and in the Bronx, and we drink or non-alcoholic drinks also. And so that's one of our biggest ones. And we have a couple of here and there rides that we're doing, especially for Earth Day. We have an Earth Day weekend rides where we support other parks, outdoor spaces that are celebrating Earth Day in Upper Manhattan areas.
Okay, so what we're going to do is I'll get all the information, and when we do our edited version, I'll put all that there, like along the bottom, so that everybody can see it. Yes. But thank you so much, Judi Desire, for coming and spending some time with us. We appreciate you. We appreciate the work that you're doing with Uptown Boogie Bicycle Advocacy. Did I say that right? Did I almost say it right? Okay, good.
Advocating for mental health.
Yes, mental health. Okay, so next, actually Wednesday, we're going to have Dr. Greason, the creator of the Wakanda syllabus. So 7 o'clock here. He's also a professor at Monmouth University. And he also was the person who made the racial justice syllabus when the incident happened at the University of Virginia. So it's going to be exciting. His syllabus was actually downloaded like 4 million times and translated to 7 languages. So, wow. All right. But thank you so much, Judi. And thank you, everybody else who watched. Bye.
Bye.
Black kids in outer space. Black kids in outer space. Black kids in outer space. Urban planning, walking, bicycling, and more in our space.